Good evening, and welcome to the momentarily delayed March 17, 2022 meeting of the Mount Juliet Municipal and Regional Planning Commission. Our first item up, as you see tonight, we have 5 members present. So as we begin our meeting tonight, I wanted to talk to you about quorum. So I'm going to read from our Planning Commission bylaws that states that the presence of 5 members of the commission shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The chairperson at his or her discretion may wait up to 30 minutes after the scheduled meeting time for a quorum to be present. In the event that a member is required to leave a meeting prior to adjournment and the departure causes a loss of such quorum, no further official action may be taken until a quorum is restored other than adjournment. A majority vote of those commissioners present, and in no case less than 4 affirmative votes, shall be required to decide any item of business requiring action by the commission. So most importantly, I don't think that anyone needs to leave early outside of some kind of unknown medical emergency that could arise, but it does take 4 affirmative votes with only 5 members present for something to pass. So wanted to be clear of that and announce that before we begin our meeting. Next item up is to set our agenda. I am aware of a few agenda changes for tonight. We have moved what was previously known as item 6.1 to the end of our consent agenda. It is now known as 3.2. That item is to review the right-of-way abandonment for 258 West Division Street. The other item is that we did add, and we also added that to the back of the consent agenda. That will be a resolution approving the commercial purchase and sale agreement for purchase of approximately 1.6 acres of land located on Charlie Daniels Parkway from Gary Merritt, noted as 15-2022. The other item, which was deferred from our agenda tonight, and that was item 4.1, which was to review the preliminary plat for the Bender's Ferry subdivision located at 711 Bender's Ferry Road. So that request has been deferred to next month's meeting. Outside of that, I am not aware of any other changes or adjustments. That will set the agenda as stated. We'll begin our meeting tonight with our staff reports and start off with Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. I wanted to just say happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. I like seeing all you festive folks that are participating or not in your case.
I got a hint of green.
Okay.
Hint.
Last month, we canceled our planning commission meeting due to severe weather, and I thank everybody's understanding for that, which leads me to my next topic is the annual meeting will be held next month in April, and that's where we will elect our chair and vice chair. And it also grants us an opportunity to take a look at our bylaws, at which time I would like to establish a policy for canceled meetings so we can be consistent when that does occur. Also wanted to let you guys know that the city has requested to reconvene the Wilson County Coordinating Committee to take a look at updating our UGB lines or possibly help developments in the county just to be a better development overall. And so first meeting is next Wednesday or Tuesday, I believe. Tuesday at 1. I'd also like to introduce Brian Collins to you. He's our new deputy planner. And I'd like to give him a few minutes to introduce himself.
Please.
All right. Mr. Chairman, I'm Brian Collins, and I'm the deputy city planner for the city. I've, in my former life, I was for 10 years, I was a community and regional planner with the Greater Nashville Regional Council. And 10 years prior to that, I was a community planner with the now eliminated Department of Local Planning Assistance Office, Department of ECD. I'm a native Tennessean and went to school at MTSU. My wife and I have 2 daughters, and we reside in Donaldson. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Mount Juliet. Excited to have you. Mr. Shimmer.
Got a whole bunch of things.
All right.
We got a lot of things to can't get into gear. First thing, I got this finalized today. Stormwater utility. We're going to be presenting that to the BOC next month on April the 25th as a work session. Love to have the community, you guys, everybody out to present the findings of what we've done. This has been right at a year since we came to the BOC to present the viability of this utility. So that doing a lot of work, and with the rains that we've had in the last couple of months, we've been trying to get all that data to our consultant, and we've had a very positive call last couple of weeks ago. So we're looking forward to showing the town and to our BOC the findings of the study. Construction, Cedar Creek Greenway has started up. They've, if you've been out there at the park, Charlie Daniels, you can see the boardwalk is being constructed. We're looking at getting that knocked out in October. The bridge widening project is on track to finish in June. The signal at Green Hill and Lebanon Road, they've started construction on that, and we're looking at being done with that in May. And Providence Parkway, the signal we're putting up there at Kroger, and the other side where Jonathan's and all the other shops there going to Publix, that has gotten bids. They're about to start construction on that. Looking to get done by December just because of lead times on signal poles. That's what the biggest factor of that one is. And there's a road widening component as well. And the last thing I've got is Cedar Creek Sewer Interceptor project over there by West Wilson at the Highway 70 pump station. We're going to be done with that next month. So a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, we've had a great BOC budget that let us do all these things, and we're showing you guys that we're getting work. So that time season of construction is kicking up. So that concludes my staff report.
Shane, share with me a little bit what you guys did in your stormwater study, just a kind of a rough and dirty synopsis of what you're analyzing and what we hope to gain from that.
So we've had a town this size. We've had issues with, drainage conflicts, drainage situations that we can't address because we don't have a funding mechanism for it with the residents, such, various spots of town. And with the implementation of this study, we've analyzed all the lots, commercial, industrial, residential, and we're going to set a price to fund this utility for all users to address the issues that, residents in mass have in areas to clean up stormwater. We can't say we're eliminating flooding,
Sure.
but we've got a funding arm. If somebody calls and says we got a problem, we can do capital project list. So, any type of, think of it like a public works project capital list for roadways or sewer utility capital projects. We're going to have a stormwater capital project list as a result of the study.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Please.
Make sure that you guys know that you are invited to the Tuesday at 1:00 meeting here in this room to discuss the coordinating committee.
That'd be great.
So we'd love to have your input.
Thank you.
Another meeting for you to attend.
Yeah. All right. And as Ms. Hamlin stated right there, don't forget that we definitely want more than 5 members. We love to have our all 8, especially at our annual meeting. So please take a look at your calendars going forward. And it is our election period as well. So with some possible amendments to our bylaws. So get your campaign signs and buttons and all of that out. And we get to have our vote again coming up next month. With that being said, we will move on to our next item on the agenda, which are citizen comments. At this time, we will take citizen comments. The public is welcome and encouraged to make public comment about any item on our agenda. There'll be 2 opportunities for you to make comments. You may speak now, or you may speak when the item is presented to the Planning Commission. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone that wishes to address the Planning Commission at this time is welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll move forward with our agenda. Our first item on the agenda would be the Planning Commission minutes approval. Item 2.1 for the Planning Commission regular meeting of January 20th of 2022. I know that we corrected some typos, I believe, on that. Outside of that, any changes, amendments, adjustments from those meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion to approve.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. All right, everybody bear with me on this one. Next item up is our consent agenda. We'll begin with item 3.1, which is the development letter of credit, number 694-08856-709 for Jackson Hills Phase 1, Section 1B, in the amount of $200,102.85 can be released. Item 3.2, the development letter of credit, number 694-08856-727 for Jackson Hills Phase 2, Section 2C, in the amount of $155,924.23 can be released. Item 3.3, the development letter of credit, number FTE 275188 for Nichols Vale Phase 4, Section 2, in the amount of $26,292.85 can be released. Item 3.4, the development letter of credit, number FTE 275056 for Nichols Vale Phase 1 in the amount of $59,989.61 can be released. Item 3.5, the sewer letter of credit, number 900-19986 for Stone Hollow Phase 4, Section 2 in the amount of $66,642 can be released. Item 3.6, review the final plat for CASA 2791 Phase 2 located at 2791 South Mount Juliet Road. Item 3.7, review the final plat for the Village at Pleasant Grove, located at 555 Pleasant Grove Road. Item 3.8, review the final plat for Nichols Vale Phase 2, Section 2B, located at Nichols Vale Lane. Item 3.9, review the final plat for Mount Juliet Commons Phase 1, Section 2, located at Nichols Vale Lane. Item 3.10, review the administrative approval letters from the February 17th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting that was canceled due to severe weather. Those items include Providence Central Assisted Living, Final Master Development Plan and Site Plan. Hickory Hills Phase 4, Final Master Development Plan, Preliminary Plat. Walton's Grove, Phase 5B, Final Plat. Winfield Phase 4, Final Plat. Scooter's Coffee, Site Plan. Pet Boys, Site Plan. Those items were approved, subject to staff comments. The next item on our agenda is item 3.11, review the appointment of Brian Collins as Planning Commission Secretary. Next item up is item 3.12, review the right-of-way abandonment for 258 West Division Street. And item 3.13, a resolution approving the commercial purchase and sale agreement for purchase of approximately 1.6 acres of land located on Charlie Daniels Parkway from Gary Merritt, 15-2022. Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. Planning staff recommends approval with any conditions listed in your staff report.
Wonderful. Thank you. Mr. Schmer, anything from Public Works?
Same comment as the planning director.
Very well. Questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, at this time we'll call for citizen comments. Anyone wishing to make comment about any item on the consent agenda is welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no comments at this time, we do need to close our Planning Commission meeting in order to open a public hearing. The public hearing is in regards to item 3.6, which is review the final plat for CASA 2791 Phase 2, located at 2791 South Mount Juliet Road. Also, item 3.7, review the final plat for the Village at Pleasant Grove, located at 555 Pleasant Grove Road. Item 3.8, review the final plat for Nichols Vale Phase 2, Section 2B, located at Nichols Vale Lane. And item 3.9, review the final plat for Mount Juliet Commons Phase 1, Section 2, located at Nichols Vale Lane. Anyone wishing to make public comment in regards to any of those four items in our public hearing is welcome and encouraged to do so. And please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, we'll close the public hearing, reopen our planning commission meeting, at which time I'm looking for a motion in regards to the items on our consent agenda. I'll make a motion for approval, subject to staff comments. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda is item 4.2. Falls underneath the preliminary plat and modifications of preliminary plats. It's item 4.2 is review the modification of the preliminary plat for Willow Landing located at Maize Chapel Road. Ms. Hamlin.
Thank you. If you remember correctly, this plat was approved in August of 2021. It looked a little bit different than they have presented tonight. They've included an amenity center with a pool and connected. If you remember, the first time around, these two roads were just dead-end streets, and they have provided a connection here at what they are calling Rickney Road. They're asking for two variances tonight. One would be to omit sidewalks on both sides of the street. The last go round, they were granted a variance to sidewalks on one side of the street. They're proposing a 10-foot trail in lieu of those sidewalks, and they are also asking to develop upon lots with 20% slopes, 20% or greater slopes. They have committed, if you will notice on sheet 1 of 5, the lots that have the S near the asterisk, those will be basement homes, which I'm excited to see for our community. This one is a little unique as well. There's 15 lots that are not in our UGB, but are part of this development, and those will be heard at the Wilson County Planning Commission if they have not already. I believe that's tomorrow. And staff recommends approval of this plat with our conditions. I know the applicant is eager to get up and talk to you about the changes that they have made in response to you guys' feedback last time this came before you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Schmore, do you have any public works comments?
We're sticking to the comments that we have presented in front of you.
Thank you. This time, any questions or comments from the commission? Let's go and ask for representation to this project to come to the microphone and name and address for the record, please.
Luke, Wayne Miller with 4-Star Group, 27 Morgan Lane, here to answer any questions you may have and then also discuss what changes have been made since we were here back in August.
Tell me about one of the things on here. So you guys want to eliminate sidewalks on one side, which I see the rationale and the reasoning behind that, in county versus city development out there. Tell me, because we don't have, of course, normally in the city, when we do have an amenity center, we have a plan for your amenity center. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to do on your amenity center.
Yeah, so last August, we had this conversation, and I wasn't at the point to make any commitments because if we look back at even the video, we thought that the amenity would have to go in the back of the site with more challenging topography, but we've since changed consultants, and we've removed areas of this land plan to create space up front to where it's more of a focal point for the amenity. We don't have a solidified plan yet, but what we're thinking, what we're tossing around, I know Jennifer mentioned a pool. We've done a couple different things in some different areas, and what we're starting to see more traction with families, and we think this is going to be a family type of neighborhood, is having some type of clubhouse, a smaller clubhouse conditioned space with what I would just call a veranda. It's covered pavilion, almost like an L shape, something that fits the topography. And instead of a pool, is having an enhanced splash pad as well as playground, because what we're seeing is it still creates that gathering space for the residents, but also takes a lot of liability and stress off the parents with young children who now can still gather and communicate and socialize with their friends, but not have to worry about their kids in a pool versus having a splash pad area and they can see everything that's going on. So that's our intent. We have not designed that yet. But that's what we plan on doing.
How big will that space be?
You know, I don't know right now, Luke. I would imagine it'd be something similar to in my past life what we did at Groves Reserve off Pleasant Grove Road, probably 800, 1,200 square feet. And I'm thinking more of the bathhouse on the outside, so you still have access, but gated around so that the community doesn't have to worry about someone coming in there, key fob access, whatever that would be.
But you have parking and everything associated with that.
Of course.
Where are you going to put the your mailbox kiosk?
I believe on the side plan that we have in this preliminary plat, it's when you come up before, Luke, if you remember, there's two entrances, the east and the west, and they come up and make a U. And so where the mail kiosk would be on that center of that reverse horseshoe, or I guess it would be a horseshoe right there. If you're looking at Rigney Road next to lot 166, that's where we intend on putting the kiosk.
Great. That's what I was just kind of checking to make sure we don't try to squeeze the mailbox kiosk into the Mendy Center area
Sure.
over there. Just, if you're trying to enjoy the Mendy Center, but at the same time, you got people wanting their mail, it just creates a little bit of an issue, challenge in there. One more just quick question or statement, because I don't
Sure.
think that you guys have to do this per ordinance of the county, but it's one of the things that we instituted here a long time ago, and I always feel that it's helpful because you do a butt on your hammerheads, your stubs, or whatnot. You do a butt to potential properties that this could adjoin to or could grow to at some point in time. It'd be possible for you guys at some of these dead ends where there could be a connection where you don't have any houses at the end. Looks like at the end of Emmeline Way, that there's possibility that you could continue to go, I guess that's kind of northwest with the development. We just require a sign that says future development, and just helps everybody involved when, that way they say, hey, my realtor said that nothing was ever going to come here. And then boom, all of a sudden something comes here. I know one of them that we didn't hear last month, but I've heard since my tenure here, I guess this would have been the fourth or fifth time that I heard this project, but the Hickory Hills project just brings one up that there's a lot of folks at the end of Sydney Terrace that never thought that Sydney Terrace would extend all the way over to Devonshire, to Hickory Hills. And I've got a lot of personal friends that live on Sydney Terrace as well. So it kind of got a lot of backlash in there. It's one of those things that's great for communication. It's just a little simple sign, not really an expensive sign or anything else, but just lets homeowners know, hey, maybe this does, maybe this doesn't, but there's opportunity here that presents itself to where we could expand the neighborhood, and just lets them know, kind of a buyer beware thing.
Yeah, we have no issues with that. That's something that the county has also asked for us in the preliminary plat we submitted, and we have no problem with that.
That's great. Questions, comments from the commission? Please.
With the critical lots that are with the 20% slope, do you anticipate the driveway? Are you going to monitor the percentage of slope on that to where it's 20% or less, even though the lot is? Okay.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so we always want to adhere as a developer, and we're a developer. I just want to make that clear. We are not the builder. We work with a plethora of different builders all around, not only Tennessee, but the country. But that's one of the requirement for any builder. And I used to work for Goodall Homes as well, but is the FHA requirements on the slope of the driveway for loans and everything else. So no. And we're fine with that.
Yeah. And this particular development, and I kind of know what the price range is going to be out there. This is not going to be FHA buyers. So
You're right. It will not.
yeah.
But we don't want those types of slopes when you're coming in a driveway at all.
Yeah. And I thought that would just be important to make sure that although 20% is being agreed upon for that, because you can do front entry basements, or if it slopes down, you can do a daylight basement out the back. But if we can note the driveways, I think it would be appropriate.
It's fine.
Yep.
That's great. Further questions, comments from the commission? Thank you guys for going back to the board. I think you improved your subdivision. I'm really grateful that heard some comments and made a few adjustments. I think it'll be something more sustaining and beneficial to everybody that eventually moves in there. So thank you guys.
I appreciate that, Luke. We had one question about the public works comment. And there's one thing that we just want some clarity on.
Okay.
And it speaks to us actually designing the roads and building the roads to City of Mount Juliet standards and this is a thing that this is part of the reason why we're back here is we want to be the developer first choice, be open and transparent. We changed consultants. We didn't think we had all the information we needed at the front end. We've worked with staff from both Mount Juliet and Wilson County to be open about any potential slopes. As you recall before, we had no idea. And we've reduced density back down. And we're at 1.05 units per acre. Now we're allowed 1.35 in the county. But one of the things that's tough for us is in working, bringing everybody together in a collaborative effort is having that condition on us when all of our approvals and our construction documents have to go through Wilson County. And we've had multiple conversations with Steve Murphy and Chase and Andy Barlow on the same calls to discuss how are we supposed to do this when all of our bonds, letters of credit, approvals, inspections are going through Wilson County. I can't sit up here and say I can agree to build to Mount Juliet standards, which Wilson County road standards are actually more intensive, but I can't sit here and tell you that when all my approvals are going to come through Wilson County. So I was just asking for clarity for our development because we want to be above board and doing the right thing. It just seems like a conflict for us moving forward.
Shane, would you like to address that?
The comment was kept for consistency, continuity with what I understand are the regulations, and you guys ultimately make the decision, but that's a public works stance of consistency.
So kind of a comment on that, and you're right, for those that we see developments like this that lie within our growth boundary, but outside of today and the work up to this point, once this is approved, nobody from the city of Mount Juliet will oversee or inspect or bond or do anything out there. And so the county is who would hold your bonds, letter of credits and everything else, and who would inspect and whatnot. So, yeah. So we have to, I guess that'd be a question for Ms. Hamlin. We wouldn't necessarily have to add that as a requested variance, would we? Because it doesn't lie within our UGB.
Sidewalks on both sides of the street. I think that's what, per Mount Juliet subdivision regulations, sidewalks shall be provided on both sides of the street and located within a public access easement. These sidewalks shall be located outside of the right-of-way and maintained by the HOA. All roadway standards shall meet the city of Mount Juliet standards, including curb and gutter. So you would have to grant them a variance. I assume, Gino, if I'm speaking correctly, to the sidewalks on both sides of the street and to our city standards on the roadway section.
Correct.
Mr. Miller, do you have your exhibit that was sent out today so the commission can see?
I do. And can I approach and pass these out our hand?
Please.
This exhibit will explain to you if they were to put sidewalks in at the county standards,
Right.
how far the sidewalk will be from the front of the home. In some cases, it's 5 feet.
But it basically also grants them the ability to develop the neighborhood, but accordingly to Wilson County codes, road standards versus city of Mount Juliet road
Right.
standards.
They will absolutely never allow them to build a road to our standard, period. I mean, I know Ms. Weathers can speak to that as well.
And so I think it was,
Please.
thank you. Yeah, it's the first time we talked. I mean, it's funny, right? Because for me as developer and working with our builders, we all want sidewalks. That's why we're trying to do something intensive outside of that with the trails to try to connect back to an amenity. So we have pedestrian connectivity and access to the development. When you have the exhibit in front of you, and with potential easements and working around West Wilson Utility District easements, it's my Middle Tennessee Electric. This isn't really exaggerated. I mean, you would be staying here, and 5 feet from you, you'd be eating dinner with your family, and then your neighbor's walking by with their dog in the sidewalk and potentially dodging your car in your driveway. And it's the intent. We love the intent of sidewalks, and we want to put them in. And as a developer, not putting them in, it's the builder that's putting it in, and they want them. But when it looks like that, that's a detraction to the sales of that community and the overall aesthetic. And that's something we take pride in, is trying to protect that for our builders.
Questions or comments from the commission?
just to let you know, this is another thing that we're going to be speaking about in that coordinating committee session. I mean, it's troublesome for everybody involved, so we
Yeah.
just need clarity on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. At this time, we'll call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. I will make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments and the granting of the requested waivers. That does. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on our agenda is a recommendation item to the Board of Commissioners. It would be an out-of-city sewer request. It is to review the out-of-city sewer request for 1340 Northwest Rutland Road. Shane. Yes, sir.
So the resident lives on Northwest Rutland Road. He's looking to provide a lot with one tap. The property is non-contiguous by the rules. He's eligible for an out-of-city sewer service. And we've put a series of recommendations if you, ladies and gentlemen, do approve this request. And it's pretty cut and dry.
Questions or comments from the commission? No negative effects on you guys having that tap or anything? Just force main right there?
Say that again, sir.
No negative effects with that
No.
tap, just force main right there?
They've went through and requested the capacity assessment, and we've approved that, so that's been granted.
Very good. Seeing no questions or comments, we'll call for citizen comments at this time. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please. Seeing no citizen comments, I'd like to ask for a motion for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion for a positive recommendation. It's a motion. And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Next up is item 5.2, which is also a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It's to review the out-of-city sewer request for 2770 Nonneville Road. Mr. Moore, I believe this is yours.
Same thing again. One comment, I think you had this last month, Luke, in your email. These three lots have already been subdivided. I think they were subdivided back in the 60s and 70s, and developers here, if you've got any further questions on that. So they're just three separate lots he's acquired, and there again, they're not contiguous to any city property, and we've also outlined some recommendations as well if you guys were to approve his request.
I guess there is no, and I'm not sure that you all would be able to answer this, but our regulations don't allow flag lots, right?
When they do, if it's 4 acres, track and child track can be less than 2.
But nothing against, because this would be a flag lot, wouldn't it? And they have no ordinance against a flag lot, I don't think.
I'm sorry,
I said, the county doesn't have any ordinances against flag
not that I'm
lots.
aware of.
Questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, this time we'll call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments, looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on our agenda. It's a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? That is a positive recommendation. Next item up on our agenda, it falls underneath Commercial Design Standards Waiver. It's item 6.1, review the Commercial Design Standards Waiver for J and K engines located at 12071 Lebanon Road. Ms. Hamlet?
Thanks. For clarity's sake, this is actually a waiver for the industrial design standard. I got a little carried away with myself with the commercial use, but it is zoned industrial, so it will be a waiver to the industrial design standards. This is a unique request. I've struggled with it a lot. I do find it an opportunity to clean up an area that is in dire need of attention. The applicant has indicated that this metal structure will be temporary in nature and that when he terminates his lease with Limeberry Properties, that he will be taking this building with him. You cannot see it from Nonneville nor Lebanon Road. And again, it needs extensive cleaning over there. So if you guys choose to grant this tonight, I've listed in the conditions that no building permit shall be issued for this until the site is cleaned and inspected by city staff, and that they shall follow our supplemental provisions for automotive repair as well before any building permit is issued. The existing building is all metal already. I've provided pictures. I went out there and took pictures, and the applicant has provided a picture of what the building will look like that he's proposing. So it's a great opportunity to clean up that area.
I don't have a picture of what he's proposing.
It's exactly the same. I'm sorry if it's not included. But it's, if you look in the pictures that I did to
Okay.
go out there and take for you guys, I think it's the last. So basically where he already has this concrete pad,
Uh-huh.
it's your typical metal building and it'll go right on top of that. So all that storage that he cannot store inside his current facility because he's out of room will be undercover and hidden. So
So
he'll have to follow. It'll look just like that with the big bay door.
okay. Where is this?
I'm sorry.
Where is this?
So do you know where environmental science is? I'm
I
not
do.
sure it's called that anymore, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know that's what it is. It's all the way in the very back of that.
Ah,
I mean, it's the last building up there. It backs up to woods. It's a
Yep.
large parcel and it's still densely forested.
Yeah.
On the same lot there, and it goes back quite a ways, but you can't see it from any road, which is why I don't necessarily have a problem with the proposal. But I do want it cleaned up before we grant any permits because it's in rough shape back there.
it's been a long time. I think I knew somebody who used to have their business there. That's kind of what I thought. and I
Fitzy
was-
Bowman used to have his business. You know Fitzy.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where his shop used to be.
Yeah.
So it's all the way back there.
It is.
It's
Pretty
very
close by.
unique situation, but again, it does provide us an opportunity to clean that up back there. So
Yep.
I'm not sure if the applicant is here tonight. I don't see him, but he's willing to do the work. If
Questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, at this time, I'd like to call for citizen comments regards this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. See no citizen comments, looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. I'll make a motion for approval, subject to all of staff's comments. It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is disapproved. Next item up on the agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. Would it be appropriate for us to hear these two together?
Please.
Wonderful. Any objection to us hearing 7.1 and 7.2 together? One is a annexation, the other is a plan of services. Seeing no objection to that. One is a recommendation item, the other is a approval, right?
They're
Is
both
it approval?
recommendation items.
They are both
Yes, sir.
recommendation? Okay. I just didn't. have my-
Resolution is just one reading at BOC. That's probably what you're thinking.
I didn't have my little stars on 7.2 spoiled with some of my
You are
agenda.
spoiled.
Absolutely. All right. Seeing no objection, we'll hear 7.1 and 7.2 together. Both are recommendation items back to the Board of Commissioners. Item 7.1 is review the annexation for Shiloh Baptist Church located at 1514 Pleasant Grove Road. And item 7.2, also a recommendation item to the Board of Commissioners, which is to review the plan of services for Shiloh Baptist Church located at 1514 Pleasant Grove Road. Ms. Hamlin?
Thank you. This is exciting for Shiloh Baptist Church. If you're not familiar with their location, they're on Pleasant Grove Road. They have a big sign of future home of Shiloh Baptist Church. They have a organization that is willing to come in and help them build a new facility in about 2 weeks' time in August, I believe, of this year. So they're just trying to get ahead of that. They went to the Board of Zoning Appeals and gotten their conditional use permit, which is contingent upon the annexation tonight to build their new facility. They're contiguous. We have Pleasant Grove Road. Staff supports this request and just a cleanup housekeeping. We have some housekeeping to do on the plan of services. It references South Green Hill Road instead of Pleasant Grove Road. Other than that, staff recommends a positive recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for this annexation and plan of services.
Very well. Shane, anything from Public Works?
No, sir.
I guess one question that leads me to, I know that we have others correcting the Pleasant Grove and Central Pike intersection, particularly the Blind Hill right there. What is the ETA on that right now? Does anybody know?
I believe Shane knows. We just got an email not too long about that.
They're still in design. The development that's going to be doing that. So
I think it's upon completion of that,
correct. Yes.
Mhm.
I think they've got to put that in.
upon completion of gross reserve.
Correct.
There
How far
wasn't
is
a
Groves?
month.
Yeah.
It wasn't a like,
How far is Groves Reserve?
they're
right now?
coming along.
Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long.
I'm just, since we've had more things going on Pleasant Grove Road of recent, and I know when we eventually get our Central Pike interchange and 40 open, that this corridor is going to change pretty significantly over there. And I've had several people in comments, particularly through the S's, and what's the 55 plus community right there?
Gross reserve.
Gross Reserve, sorry. Jeez, I'm talking about it, didn't even know the names. Just talking about how some of the traffic is coming through there right now and how it's changed and gotten a little bit more aggressive, particularly through the narrow sections.
Everyone's
of it.
figured out it's the way around Providence.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes. And it is a narrow, no shoulder.
Yeah.
So we're going to put more traffic over there onto it. Yeah. Do we know?
Luckily, it will be isolated to just a couple days a week. Sunday and Wednesday, probably.
So if we, I guess, one of the things, and I know this is the wrong time to it, when you guys see this project, definitely widening of this section of road in front of them, turning lanes, decel lanes, everything, so that we continue to move traffic, particularly on Sunday. I can see this being a, because that's your main way in and out of the neighborhood right there. And as you said, it is a get to Cracker Barrel a little bit quicker on Sunday morning, or get to my church at Providence United Methodist. It's a way to kind of bypass that. And I know that we just talked about the interstate and the bridge being complete by June, but that's not going to change too much. As far as people still wanting to cut through, try to avoid a car to
Correct.
save 30 seconds or something else. So it's just going to be more that we're going to put over there, and maybe a little bit more detail than what we've asked of other churches, particularly at the road sections and entrance.
Well, it is a large parcel and they do have
I know.
plan a lot for it. So you
Yeah.
should see a site plan maybe in May for this one. So I think Shane's over there taking notes.
And could we, and I guess if Groves Reserve is not progressed, it would be possible for us to put a condition on this if it were approved, that road section at Central Pike would have to be lowered prior to this opening.
I think that would be a Gino question
Could we,
since it's a religious facility.
Yeah,
I'm
if
not
this
sure
were to
since
come
it
to
might be
us in
protected.
May, let's just say it did pass Board of Commissioners and it came to us in May, Groves Reserve is holding the financial responsibility and completion of a very dangerous blind hill at the intersection of Pleasant Grove and Central Pike. So this kind of a traffic pattern that a church would generate and safety concerns with it. At the time of this site plan, should it move forward and should we see it at May, would it be possible for the Planning Commission to put a condition on the, not necessarily the building permit, maybe the building permit, but upon the approval, should it get approved, that they can't get a CO until that road completion is completed?
I think the CO would be the way to go, so
Tied to that.
that gives them a bit more time to get it straight around. RLUIPA would impact it somewhat, but this being a safety issue and concern, we're not treating them more stringently than you would a secular organization. So yes, that could be a valid condition.
Considering this is a 2-week build out for them, would it be okay if we had the applicant come up and talk about their timelines? Because the organization is going to come in August and build this for them in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So if we tie it to a CO, then that
it could
prevents
conflict.
them from opening. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure what exact work or how far along this organization is going to
Yeah.
get for them. It could just be the skin and they are responsible for the insides. But if we could have somebody come up and go over like a build out timeline,
That'd be
I think
great.
that'd be great for y'all.
Do we have representation present for this project?
I'm Kevin Corkin. I live at 1018 Oak Hall Drive in Mount Juliet. I am the building chair for Shiloh Baptist Church and a charter member. We started with about 250 people about 3 years ago, and today we're a church of over 300. Living through COVID, of course, was a challenge for everybody, but we managed to do that well. We have been blessed in that the Church of, or the Christ Builders of Alabama have approached us and asked us if they can do our church as a part of their, actually as their project for the year. The project we have designed right now is about 14,000 square feet. Wayne Oakley is our designer. And Wayne's on vacation, and for some reason it chose not to attend this meeting, but go figure. He is in about design development with that project. But anyway, the church builders would like to come and they will do what they can. They prefer to work in wood, and they want to do framing and frame the roof and maybe do some roofing. But what they said they would do in 2 weeks is to dry it in.
Okay.
So that'll just give us an opportunity to bring in another builder who will do completion. Of course, we will have to have a builder who will do foundations before all of that happens. So in order for that to happen, we need to be getting our foundations in June or July. And actually, we have asked them to delay and maybe enjoy some of the nicer weather here in Central Tennessee and come in September instead of August. And they've agreed to do that. So
Wonderful. So kind of where I was going with everything, and congratulations on the growth of your ministry out there. That does speak volumes, especially to be able to grow through very tough times for any religious organization. One of my hands down concerns with that location, as you know, with living here in Mount Juliet and then being on the building committee, so probably nobody more familiar with your property and coming in and out of there, is that blind hill right there at Central Pike. So we're getting it approved, but we're relying upon someone else to approve it. Just one of the things, and I'm only speaking for one person in my opinion only, is that one of my concerns is taking that 300 member congregation, which as you get brick and mortar, should grow. I'm sure that is your guys' wishes and hopes that as you do something like that, that you're able to provide more services out there and attract a larger membership base within the church itself, is that more members, 300 could easily be at 500. 500 can easily get to 600 or 700. And you're like, yes, please, this is where we hope to be. But then us up here got to say, hey, if we just put 300 people, 500 people, 600 people off into a fairly dangerous intersection right now on Sunday, to where gives me a lot of concerns, a lot of heartburn over that decision. Should that go? And this is, we're totally speaking ahead because we're only on annexation and plan of services, but I guess in some preparations as well. And this is a pretty high traffic road. Normally I would say that, when I was little on there, I mean, you could probably ride a go-kart, nobody'd ever even know, but it's changed so much and the dynamics changed so much on this section of Pleasant Grove Road. And it's going to change more when Central Pike Interchange opens over there. Normally wouldn't say, hey, we need some road widening and improvements, decel, but it's going to be something that I would be looking for up here because of that traffic. And then let's just say that you guys built in August or even September. I mean, that still puts you in maybe hire the right people, a Q4 or Q1 of 23, kind of an opening over there. And I don't know where Groves Reserve is with their project or whether or not is that even close?
The hill, the intersection improvements at Pleasant Grove and Central Pike are being done by the apartments that are coming in at Pleasant Grove, by Imagine One. And I'm just talking to Director Barlow here. He said he actually met with the engineer that's doing the design for that hill, and he just said that project that's going to be done next summer as part of these apartments. So it is as part of their conditions.
Gotcha. Even more concerns. I know that's not the place, but I just want to kind of give you a heads up as you guys move forward. It'll be a hands down one of my largest concerns over there with putting that many people at that time of day. No matter where you're going out of there, it's a challenging place that's not necessarily designed for something that's going to inject that kind of traffic at one point, both in and both out, and find a way to get them safely in and out. And that's kind of one of our responsibilities up here. So
I appreciate that. And we have, as a part of our group, we have probably between 25 and 30 young people who probably don't have the best driving skills yet. So that is a real concern.
Yes, sir.
When we start to leave that facility.
Yes, sir.
And I've had several parents say, I can't, I just hold my breath until everybody's going. So
Amen.
You're right.
Yes, sir.
It's a hard place for us to come out of, those of us who have been driving 50 years before they were born. So.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you guys for being a part of our community.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Any questions or
excited
comments
about
from anyone else? Any other member of the commission? Please.
So I lived in Triple Crown for a couple of years. I'm very familiar with this intersection. All too familiar with before traffic was heavy of how dangerous it was. So not to belabor the point, but that's a very strong concern. The improvements at the corner of Pleasant Grove and Central Pike, those were approved before my time. So I'm a little bit unsure of what's happening there. So will those improvements be enough to handle this type of traffic there when they're made in about a year and a half from now, or a year and a few months? If this gets up to a 600 member congregation, for example, in addition to the apartment complex coming in, which is high density as well.
Director Barlow made a comment, piggybacking off his engineering judgment, I would say yes. And
Okay.
plus the road's gonna be widened by TDOT. So
Okay.
one way or the other, it's gonna be addressed.
And for me, it's just the sight line is the problem. You just can't see up over that hill, and it's a very short
No
distance.
sight distance at all.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, in the interim, if there's this period of time between when the church opens up and when the improvements are made, and this is what I don't know, I'm outside of my league here. On Mount Juliet Road, for example, when MJCA lets out, there is a police officer out there directing traffic. Is that something that we could work with? Have that?
That's what my mind was going the same way as yours. And surely we can come up with some type of interim solution until those improvements are made, so we don't burden the church with such improvements. I mean, that's costly.
Yeah.
And I would hate for them to burden that when a large development is responsible for doing that. So I think
Yeah.
that would be a great
I would just
idea.
love to do whatever we can as a city to welcome them and their congregation and their growth to our community, and you work with them to do that with some type of solution there during
I
that
agree.
interim period.
Some churches on Mount Juliet Road have officers or sheriff deputies out there directing traffic
Mhm.
after.
A Joy
church is out.
Church has one on
Yeah.
Lebanon Road at Bender's Ferry as
There
well.
are some churches that do that already.
And Mr. Justice is indicating that they all are paid for
Yeah.
by the church. So the church would actually hire that officer to come out for the traffic enforcement.
So should you press forward, maybe something, I don't know that we can really make that a condition.
I think we could word it in a way when it comes to site plan. We'll
least
work
until
on
we
that
get
in the
that.
meantime, but this is just annexation and land use
Yeah.
plan. I
Yeah.
mean, plan of services.
Sorry, just got off on that, but let you prepare a little bit better.
Okay.
Very good. Further questions or comments? Please.
I have friends who were a part of this fellowship or this church, and I know that this has been very specific, I guess, goals of you guys for the size of the property and everything. So I'm happy to see that God is fulfilling his promises in our community nonetheless. So and we thank you that you guys are taking to become a part of the city and not just, asking to use services.
This time, let's call for citizen comments in regards to this item on our agenda. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. As a reminder, we are hearing 7.1 and 7.2 together, which is an annexation and plan of services recommendation back to the Board of Commissioners. See no citizen comments this time. I am looking for a recommendation in regards to these items on our agenda.
Make a motion for a positive recommendation.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? Is a positive recommendation. Next item up on our agenda is a waiver request, item 8.1, which is to review the waiver request for Franklin Family Eye Care located at 3458 North Mount Juliet Road. Shane.
I will keep this one short and let you guys hear the rest. There's a paragraph within the report that was written directly after the ordinance that we're pulling from for comment. The city engineer has requested that the cross-access easement be provided by Franklin Family Eye Care to establish a cross-access corridor to and from the abutting property to the north. However, the applicant is not willing to comply with this request. Staff opines that the city is authorized to require cross-access easements between adjacent properties per the zoning ordinance. Anecdotally, this will provide for safer access to a signaled intersection for adjacent properties if they so choose to use it. And we're sticking with the comments that we had last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the commission? We have representation. Name and address for the record.
I'm Jerry Warren with Warren and Associates Engineering. Our office address is 109 Pennsylvania Avenue in Lebanon. We're here representing Drs. John and Karen Franklin, who are the owners of the property. Dr. Karen Franklin is here with me, as is the Franklin's attorney, Mr. Bill Hargis. John could not be here because their neighbor of 28 years passed away, and he's attending the services and celebration of life for that individual. I'll try to also be brief as Shane. I may not succeed, but just a couple of refresher comments. This item was originally brought before the Planning Commission last February. It was approved with staff comments, and one of the comments was that we would work with staff on this, some type of an access situation. We discussed it at the Planning Commission last February, that in a situation like this where we're trying to get such an easement or such access, we're dealing with two private owners, and we have worked with the owners. Neither owner is willing to agree to this cross-access easement, and we've gone back and forth with various forms of language. We've met, I appreciate Shane and Matt, we've met with Andy, we've talked back and forth several times. I will say your staff is very determined. We're here tonight because we're equally determined, and we're trying to represent our clients to the best of our ability. Just a couple of comments that we had made previously. The cross-access easement, and I understand what the ordinance says, that where feasible, this can be required. There's also another section of that ordinance that says if there are other driveways associated with any of the properties that have this cross-access easement, then those driveways, when the cross-access corridor is constructed, those driveways shall be closed and eliminated. Now, that's also in the ordinance. Now, about 20-something years ago, there was litigation between the adjacent property owner, West Wilson Family Practice, and the city of Mount Juliet, because a cross-access driveway was installed and their driveway was removed. After the litigation, I don't know all the details. Karen knows several of them and has some of the information. She's a little more intimately aware of it because they were right there beside it. Long story short, the driveway was reconstructed. It cost the city money. We don't want to go there. We're trying to keep this. We want to just kind of work things out. The Franklins need parking. They've been in that location for 28 years, and their business is growing. They need the parking to be able to continue to grow their business. As I said, both of the property owners are opposed to this type of a cross-access easement. And we've checked the driveway that comes out from folks to the north. It's a doctor's office, as they have an eye doctor. He's family practice. I think there's more than one doctor. There have been no accidents at that intersection of record, according to the Mount Juliet Police Department. And we also checked with TDOT, and they said we needed to go back to the police department. So We don't have any records. The only thing we know of is I think there was one accident that was maybe in the parking lot, in the Franklin's parking lot, and that was due to someone who had a medical emergency in the parking lot. If, and this is my professional opinion as a civil engineer, if this access is installed and we have traffic that's coming in to egress and ingress, and we have parking there, which is what we have originally asked for, is additional parking, and we have people backing out of those parking places, there's going to be conflicts between traffic backing in and out of those parking spaces and any possible cross access. So that's one of the reasons that neither of the property owners want to do this, because they don't, I say they, the Franklins don't believe it's safe for them. I happen to agree with that because I just told you that's my opinion. The adjacent property owner said that, and we provided letters to that effect in y'all's package. In addition, if the Franklins grant this easement, they're essentially giving their property away. And this is the front of their property. And I'm not an appraiser, but frontage is money, especially when you're on a road like North Mount Juliet Road. We have discussed this with staff several occasions, and I appreciate Shane hasn't called me any ugly names, and I haven't called him any ugly names. We've in one of our discussions back a short while ago, I think the variance or waiver or something like that was mentioned. And I think John also had a similar discussion with Kenny Martin, and a variance or waiver was mentioned. And that's primarily why we're here tonight, because we would like to request y'all's consideration of this request so that we could get these site plans approved and get their additional parking constructed. We're coming up on springtime and summer. I hope. I know we had 3 inches of snow last week, but maybe not anymore. We just appreciate your consideration of this. I'll be glad to try to answer any technical questions you may have. As I said, Karen's here. Excuse me, I can't talk. Karen's here. Bill's here. We're trying to keep Bill quiet, but if I can answer any questions, I'll try to do so. I appreciate y'all's consideration. Are there any questions or anything I can answer for y'all?
No, I don't have any. I know that I think that I made the motion at the last meeting towards this, and in getting to where we got was your guys' willingness to design it to connect. But you've got 2 different landowners, and so you can't force somebody to make a connection in that course right there. But improving the property and then designing the property so as should ownership change, should uses change, should someone come in there, it's designed, it's built, it's ready, tear a curb out, sign an easement between the 2 properties, and you're off to the races right there. It allows that future connectivity right there, which the future connectivity was the intent that I made in that motion. And to my understanding and looking at this, it's designed and pushed all the way to the property, to your property line, designed so that elevations match, get rid of a curb, come up with common ownership or some kind of an agreement, and you guys would have that access. But at this point in time, there's no agreement to do that access other than to build your facility or your upgrade to your facility to handle it in the future.
That is correct. The intention, I think everything pretty much ties together. We did put some, like, I think some concrete curbs or bumpers there because even now, some folks go the wrong way and they try to jump a 6-inch post curb to go from place to place. People are interesting animals sometimes, and particularly those that might have like jacked up 4-wheel drive trucks or something like that. So we're just trying to try to keep this as safe. I mean, the Franklins, they treat people's eye problems. So if people go there, they may be visually impaired, they may be elderly. That can lead to issues, and we're trying to eliminate those if we can.
I know I went to the doctor and the doctor wouldn't see me before he told me that he had no plans to join his parking lot to you. Yeah. When you've been seeing him a little while, he's kind of honest to you.
I understand.
Yeah. Very well. Further questions or comments from the commission? Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
This time we want to call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment are welcome and encouraged to do so. Come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Ray Justice, 251 Spring Hill Road, Mount Juliet. Excuse me. I have been in conversations with Ms. Franklin and with Dr. Franklin for quite a few months now regarding this particular proposal. I was also with City of Mount Juliet as a District 1 city commissioner when someone from the city decided it was a really good idea to take a track hoe, go down and wipe out the driveway. And the city paid for that. The conversations that I've had have been very consistent in that they had thought back in last February when they were there that this was going to be handled. And then I think you had made a motion or something to aid them in that we wanted to make sure that this was available as an answer if they were able to work something out in the future, I think is,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. Given his history, their history, actually with the city of Mount Juliet, there's a little trust factor. And rightfully so, they would have a trust factor at this point that they probably don't need that particular, that does not need to be a part of the waiver. It needs to be taken out so that they can proceed with, working through the parking lot. I'm talking to Ms. Karen. She pointed out that there's no place for them to go in the front. They've got a widened entrance, and if you've got people coming from a different location and they're going through that driveway, somebody's going to get hit. And it's very obvious. I spent 20-something years as a traffic cop, and I don't need that experience to be able to point that out, by the way. So what I'm going to ask, if you guys can, if you would take that out so that they are not held to that cross-access easement. I understand Public Works, when we went through the traffic plan, they were very adamant about that. There were some disagreements on it. I personally don't agree in making somebody do a cross-access easement. I believe that needs to be case by case rather than just a policy. But there was a lot of discussion took place in relation to cross-access easements. I think in a lot of cases they're great. Not every case, though. And so if there's any way that this commission could grant this waiver for them so they could proceed and grow their business, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Any additional citizen comments at this time? Seeing no additional citizen comments, I'd like to ask for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. I will make a motion to grant the waiver request.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? It is approved.
Thank y'all. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. The next item up on our agenda is item 9.1. It is to review the land use plan amendment for Providence Commons located at 631 South Mount Juliet Road, and only the land use plan amendment. Ms. Hammer.
Thank you. Before I get into my big spiel, could we call the applicant up? They've indicated that they may want to defer. So before
Sure.
we get into that,
Please, name and address for the record.
opportunity to talk.
Joe Haddix, 2305 Klein Avenue. Good evening. Developer, apologies not being here tonight. So we'd like to defer one meeting, but we'd like to keep it on as a discussion item. I'm sure there's been lots of talk about it from what I've heard. So we'd like to get any input from this group, see if we can address any comments, questions over the next 30 days before the next meeting, if possible. That would be our request tonight.
We'll talk to you about the land use plan amendment. And I disagree with amending the land use plan. I think the land use plan is identifying its proper use as it sits today. Anyone else wish to give any feedback? Thank you. Is that a deferral of 9-1 and 9-2 then? A
Yeah,
request for a
9-1.
deferral of 9-1 and 2?
Would love to hear any feedback on the PMDP also, if you so willing.
Yeah.
I think the feedback is meet the land use plan.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
Please.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That is a request for deferral on 9.1, which was to review the land use plan amendment for Providence Commons located at 631 South Mount Juliet Road. Also a request for deferral of item 9.2, which would be a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners, and that is to review the preliminary master development plan with a planned unit development for Providence Commons located at 631 South Mount Juliet Road. Both items been deferred per the request of the developer. Next item up on the agenda falls underneath the site plans. Item 10.1 is review the site plan for Parish Place, Lot 1B, located at Lebanon Road.
Thank
Ms. Hammer.
you. You may be the only one to remember this on this board, but in August of 2008, this site plan was approved and has since expired. They meet our bulk standards. They have provided the sidewalks as requested. They meet our parking code. The only thing that they have not met is the commercial design guidelines for the hardy that they have shown. So they are looking for a waiver for that, and staff supports. It's minimal in nature. I know they have some conditions from our public works department, but our planning staff does recommend approval of this site plan with any conditions listed. I get excited when I see development on the north side of town, so I'm excited for this one.
Yes, ma'am. I got one quick question before we go to Public Works. Maybe I was just reading through everything wrong. This is just a one-story building, right?
Yes.
Okay. I could have swore I saw somewhere indicating that it was a two-story facility, but then I looked at, doesn't it?
2.01.
It's the old cut and paste from Civil Site.
Oh, on C 2. On the plan 2.01.
On the building itself, it says proposed.
Whereas on sheet C101, it says one story, but the next sheet, all indications, it's a one-story building.
Okay.
Site
That's
data
where I'm-
table.
You're not crazy.
Okay.
A site
I knew
data
that's-
table calls it 20 foot.
I was like, all right. I was trying to see this one-story.
We're all
rendering,
guilty of cut and
how we're
paste.
going to get that to two-story and who's going to be hidden in the attic up there. And I was like, that cannot be safe.
I know.
All right. Very well. Public Works, Shane, please.
Two comments I want to bring up. The first two, Joe, I know that Matt had told me that you try reaching out to us about the plans. Those plans for right-of-way, for widening and the right-of-way plans are still being worked out with TDOT. And we will be working with the consultant on incorporating the widening and his project. We're running into an issue with the parking lot and the widening project of Lebanon Road. It's going to encroach on it pretty good. So we're going to be in constant communication with the property owner and Joe to make sure that we can get this site developed and the widening accommodates. We're not doing any double work of deconstruction and construction. And we did ask for right-of-way dedication to speed up the process with TDOT. So those were the two comments we did have.
Very well. Questions or comments from the commission? Let's go ahead and ask for representation, name and address for the record.
Joe Haddix, 2305 Klein Avenue. We're in agreement with all staff comments, recommendations, with the exception of Public Works number 2. As Shane just mentioned, they've made a request for a right-of-way dedication. Now, what we've agreed to would be to work with Public Works. We'll set up the site and design it to where there's no conflict with the future dedication, having to rework anything. But as I think y'all have seen in the past, on straight zone piece of property, the dedication is followed later on through the normal TDOT process, but we'll set the site up to where there is no conflict. And that's it. I mean, that's the only kind of hiccup we have with the comments. They're all very minor, easily addressed. The preliminary plans we've seen on the 70 widening, by the time you get down to this stretch of the road, the majority of the widening is on the north side of 70, not the south across these frontages, because you have developed parcels on either side of this site to where it would be substantial taking from both those. So it appears TDOT has shifted everything north here. So it's just a little sliver across the front. We can set it up out of the way. We just asked that the requirement to dedicate the right of way be waived. But we'll set it up so it can be dedicated in the future with no rework of the site.
Shane, does what we're looking at right now, is it set back enough to where we're going to be able to handle that? Have you guys looked at that? Even if they don't dedicate it, I mean, are we positioning this so that we can accomplish that? Because that widening of 70 right through there is,
They're taking a lot.
it's needed
Yeah,
a bunch.
It is.
I haven't looked at the most up-to-date right-of-way plans. Let me see.
While he's looking at that, Joe, I want to ask a couple questions. One is, just because the site is so tight, and then I look at the west elevation, we do have a central door on that west elevation right in the center of the building, which tells me that's where people are going to come and go or drop off, depending upon the use of the building. I would imagine, not seeing a floor plan, that's some kind of a central corridor entrance into the building. So if it were used for medical, office, anything, I could see it being a potential drop-off or stopping station right there for someone, especially in lieu of where the location for the handicap parking will be.
Mm-hmm.
If that is a entrance right there at that point, just to make sure that there's no parking right there, stripe curb, signage, something to,
Stripe it as fire lane.
that would be fantastic. Because it is tight, and I could see that being a little bit of a mess. And I know it's probably not an intensive use, but helpful to get it there up front. Second thing is, I was looking at the landscape plan, and you do put your HVAC units on the ground instead of on the roof, which I see no issue with that. But we also, looking at the landscape plan, we have no screening at all on that either. No landscaping down that side of the building. Think you can get us something over there?
That may have, planning staff may have caught that as well. Yes.
Did you guys see? Did you see that, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's, they got it as.
Screen the HVAC?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 6, I believe, or 7. But yeah, we're in agreement to do it.
Yeah, just something to bushes, some evergreens, something through there that would be complementary to the site, but help to screen that a little bit, because as the road does widen, as the road pushes towards that facility, it'll definitely be more visible than what it is today.
Can you repeat your first statement to him about the fire lane?
First one was, in looking at the elevation to the building, it looks like there's a central entrance at the midpoint of the building with double doors, which indicates to me that it's some kind of a drop-off area or potential main hallway into whatever the finished use is going to be. It looks like a multi-tenant possibility. And as such, I just want to make sure that people aren't just parking or dropping off. I don't want to create kind of the Starbucks and issues there on a tight site like that. We want to be able to let people come and go as they please and just make sure that nobody's going to stop or wait or anything. So
You just want
Well,
to hash that off.
paint it as a fire lane. Painting it as a fire lane is probably most appropriate. I think people probably avoid a fire lane more than they do yellow paint. Plus I'm sure our yeah, I would imagine you're right. But a little bit of something's better than a lot of nothing. And that was just it. And then just making sure we have the screening down the west
Okay.
side of the building.
That's a request of ours anyways. We always make sure that's done.
Please,
The
Shane.
right of way was not dedicated on the site plan.
The right of way is not, but do you know if the building is set back enough and parking set back enough based upon any preliminary studies or anything that we've looked at? I know, Joe, you said,
I know me and Matt went back and forth looking at the parking. I still think it's in conflict with the widening. Because those plans have, like I said, have not been finalized yet.
So Joe, what was your comment? How you planned on accommodating your site around that?
I mean, we'll
What-
continue to work with Public Works. I mean, we requested the set of plans. We've seen a preliminary set. In talking with Shane and Matt, it's not finalized, but we're committing to continuing to work with them to design the site in a way, if we have to push the building back, likely will reduce the square footage slightly because we're up against two existing easements, the big cross drain on the pipe and the sewer easement.
Because we don't want to get in a situation where you lose those 7 spots up front.
Right.
then
And
you're
we're
short on
committed
parking.
to working with you through that process. It's just the owner does not want to dedicate the right of way. He feels like he should be compensated for that right of way, similar to everybody else up and down 70 when the right of way taking occurs. So we can design the site around it and continue to work with staff, but it's just the actually giving up the right of way this time.
to me, as long as we got room to, I understand that statement, but as long as we got the room to where that parking does not, even if it means reduction in square footage, to me, that's what it ends up meaning. But in order to just make sure that we got the room right there.
Yeah, we can do that.
So if you were to make a motion to approve, would you just revise that to state work with staff? Okay.
Please.
Where on the site is the impervious surfaces? Where exact, like, if you're looking, is that in the parking areas or
Mhm.
whatever?
202.
Just personal preference. I hate that stuff, but just,
Well, I prefer the pavers over the
okay.
pavement.
I don't, when I look at Slim Chickens, it looks like an unfinished parking lot. Just
We
my
can
personal
certainly
opinion.
ask for pavers in lieu of the pavement tonight.
Okay. I would like to put that in there. Request for pavers instead of the pavement.
It's so much nicer.
And it's to their benefit to making the building look nicer too.
What does Public Works think of pavers? Shane? You like the pavers over those?
Yes,
Do you really?
I do.
Maintenance or?
I think they're more durable than they're given credit for. And I don't know what the exact extent of this business is, but they do add I'm not an artist by any means, but they do add a little bit better look versus impervious, and they do the same job. I don't know the cost difference, but pavers are a lot more durable than impervious pavement, in my opinion.
I don't have any experience with impervious pavement, but I have some experience with pavers. It's interesting.
with the impervious pavement, and it clogs up over the years. So I
You have to vacuum it.
Yeah. I have a development I personally own that we built 7 years ago. And the short version is just debris over time, small particles have filled what was supposed to be pervious, and it doesn't absorb down like it used to. So now that development floods. 5 years ago, it did not. It's not because we have more rain. It's because that pervious concrete, first off, it is kind of ugly.
It
looks
is
like
terrible.
paper mache. The pavers do look better. They're, I don't know, 20% more to do that or something like that. 30, I don't know. It's not a whole lot more, but it is more. But my experience with it is the pervious concrete does not work well over time.
Very well. Your comments? Questions or comments? Think you could do papers? Sounds like you might be asked to.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like he's going to get, compensated for his right of way anyway.
Thank you, Joe.
Not my right way.
Yeah. This time, let's call for citizen comments. Any citizens wishing to make comment in regards to this item on the agenda is welcome and encouraged to do so. And please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no citizen comments at this time, looking for a motion in regards to this item on our agenda. Anybody with a motion? I will make a motion to approve, subject to staff comments, subject to the work being, making sure that the developer will work with staff to ensure that parking is not conflicting with any widening of Highway 70, as that is imperative to our community. And sounds like I need pavers in there in lieu of pervious concrete in that section.
And then I just write down insurance, HVAC.
Yes, please. Yeah, and then the striping on the curb, please. There's my motion.
I'll second.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? So approved. Next item up on the agenda is a recommendation item back to the Board of Commissioners. It is item 11.1. It's to adopt the updated official City of Mount Juliet zoning map. Ms. Hamlin.
This is just a housekeeping item. If anybody ever visits my office, I have an official zoning map hanging on my wall, and it has former Mayor Haggerty's signature from 2016.
Oh, wow.
So the map you have before you is updated with our city limits and zoning up to the day before staff reports came out. So we just need to get a new map updated with our new mayor's signature and put the old one in archives. So
Have we previously just done that through, I can't say I've remembered it as an individual line item. We've been doing that because land use plan or maybe our
zoning ordinance calls for the zoning administrator to always have an official zoning map.
Mhm.
And considering that the one in my office is so outdated, I just felt it was time to bring it forward. It goes through as resolution through Board of Commissioners, so it'll just be one reading. The last time was literally in 2016.
Wow. We redid the land use plan that year, didn't we?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that 2016?
So I think we redid it in coordination with that. That may be the reason why I didn't recall it being an individual item as it is today,
Oh, maybe so.
you know. Questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, call for citizen comments in regards to this item on the agenda. Seeing no citizen comments, looking for a recommendation in regards to this item on the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Positive recommendation.
Positive recommendation.
I get a motion for a positive recommendation. Second for that positive recommendation. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Against? Abstentions? I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your hand. Aye, against, abstentions. We are adjourned.